What's going on, my creative collective? Welcome to your daily creative reading. Now we're changing it up a little bit. So we're doing a daily creative reading, and also I'm doing an Aries reading at the end that's going to build on the collective reading. So I thought this would be really interesting. So stay tuned. So this this is for November 17th. So we're going to hop back in, settling in nicely into my new space. But I wanted to get some readings up because I've been feeling inspired. And you know it's a thing when you start to shuffle post-it notes. That's like, I did it again. I noticed the other day at work that I was shuffling post-it notes like they were tarot cards. And I was like, okay, it's time. So let's dive back in here. You can't see her, but right behind me, there's my little Chicken Little. She's here. And my roommate's cat is here as well. This is apparently party central for them. So I can't complain though because I love it. So, okay. So we have New Moon in Libra, a new romantic cycle begins. There we go. And we also have, interestingly, step out of your comfort zone and North Node. So, there we go. A lot of, I feel like new, like this is new, right? We know from a variety of conversations happening on astrology channels and tarot channels that the North Node is kind of, I don't want to say it's not really making some kind of comeback, but I just noticed that it's more popular. So, but North Node to me is more about what you're here to do in this life in terms of learn and express and how it will help you to grow. You know, my North Node is in Aries, which the Emperor, I realized the shirt as I was saying that, but that means like taking charge for myself and leading myself as opposed to allowing, you know, my default is Libra, right? So that's my South Node. So I'm very good at being, what does everyone think? And, you know, instead of saying, what do I want and how am I cultivating my life so that that is at the forefront, right? So, so North Node and a new romantic cycle begins. So interesting. You could have North Node in Libra. I'm hearing diplomacy. And the one on the bottom, void of course moon. Nothing will come of this situation. New romantic cycle, North Node, but nothing. No, I'm kidding. It's what I'm getting from this is more so that there's worries that you may have. The North Node can do that. It can pull up these worries because it's unfamiliar territory. It doesn't mean that we don't have what it takes to handle it, but it just means that it's a little bit unfamiliar to us, right? Because it's not a skill set that we come here with from past lives or things like that. So it's not necessarily something that's natural to us. So nothing will come of this situation. It could very well just mean that there's nothing to worry about, right? There's nothing to fear. And usually there isn't. So let's pull here from the Light Seers Tarot. I love this deck so much. It's like, it's so, this one here, it's so easy to, it speaks to me in so many different ways. So let's do this one here. Spirit, what messages do you have for, whoa. Okay, so quite a few came out. I'm going to take the ones that fell face up. Okay, so the kind of call to adventure, this spiritual journey. Nine of Wands, Page of Swords, and King of Swords. I feel like some hard-won clarity. That's what I'm getting here. Hard-won clarity. You could have North Node in Aquarius as well with the King of Swords there and the Page. It's a lot of air energy, so you could have an air North Node. But I feel like this is sort of the call to adventure is hard-won wisdom. Hard-won wisdom. But I feel like you're at the top of the mountain of what you are meant to know in that cycle. And I think the call is pulling you into another cycle, which is kind of how it goes, right? But we can sometimes stay stuck because it's comfortable, right? So we can stay stuck in a cycle and just on a loop because it's just, it's not about not wanting to move, but there's something really comfortable about knowing, kind of knowing, even if it's dysfunctional, knowing the dysfunction that's around you, because the one that you don't know is a little bit scarier, right? Especially if you haven't had a full cup, it can be a little bit scary because, well, what does that feel like, right? How much of me is going to be seen in a full cup context? And maybe that's in a full cup context. I don't know. The Queen of Wands came out as part of the refusal energy. And that is like, I mean, if you're in this creative, like, I feel like if you feel like you know too much or know it all, that's where this can really start to go into the stubborn side of the Queen of Wands, right? It can go into the stubborn side of the Queen of Wands because the King of Swords is knowing, right? That's a knowledge. It's Aquarian energy. And I feel like the Queen of Wands is this sort of stubbornness about what you know, in the one hand. And I feel like that's where it's coming through in this refusal energy. I don't know if you can hear the sound of the traffic. My condo is beautiful, but it's not a busy street, but it's busy enough that you can sometimes hear stuff. Okay. So the Queen of Wands energy, it's like, I do get that it's like a stubborn refusal. And the Two of Cups, interesting. This could be about, because I said, being seen. And I feel like this could be about being seen where, because the Two of Cups came out as part of that. So I almost get that there's a way that in connections and relationships, perhaps you were operating in a specific way. And that was like the way that you knew, right? Cup filling, the way that you knew. Cup filling, fulfilling. And part of the refusal for Pentacles is not the hesitation to create something new, but it's the stubborn refusal to believe that there's maybe something more fulfilling, right? And if this relates to work, it could be where you're kind of stuck in a rut and, you're not happy, or you're trying to figure out what you want to do. I just heard intern, so I could be speaking to someone who's doing an internship or who has done, may feel like an intern. You might feel like an intern with what you're doing or where you are. The thing that can become a tower if it goes unchecked is literally the tower. I love it when that happens. Very direct spirit. So I get that the wisdom here is to let go of what needs to be let go of, because it will fester. I'm hearing the word fester specifically. And it doesn't just fester in a way that is like harmful to you. It is in a sense, but it stops you from fulfilling your potential. What does your potential mean, right? We can get caught up in this loop of potentiality where we feel like we constantly have to be doing in order to reach this end goal of then I will be enough. And, we live in systems and under systems that prioritize that kind of thinking and even reward it. But what I think here about potential is that the part of you that yearns to come out and know joy, the part of you that is joy expressing itself in the world, right? That's where this tower energy is really coming through. And I feel like it could be that there's like this refusal to let go. And again, this North Node, you could be moving into aspects of or traits related to the North Node in your birth chart, where that's sort of your uncharted territory, right? And it could be a bit of a surprise at how beautiful the letting go is. I see the butterflies there. This is Pluto energy too. So transformation, right? So I feel a bit like this is like, you could just be, and you could have like squirreled things away, like resources or your time. There could have been things that you were trying to conserve or reserve. And at the end of the day, there's something really beautiful about the coming apart because of what's actually coming together. I almost see these as little fireflies communicating messages from spirit, from your ancestors, that kind of idea. Interesting. So it's like you are surrounded, but the tower may be hanging on to things that no longer serve you, but then also disbelieving that you're supported in the release of that. And that, what kind of, what tower is that really? Like, that's like, I think it's not just about letting go of what doesn't work. It's also about going to the root of the beliefs that upheld that tower in the first place, right? I think about, detonations in buildings and when they come down, and just the way that you have to put the charges in specific places so that it doesn't fall into neighboring areas. And I think that is in a way what we do when the tower comes down, and we recognize it and we release before it comes crashing down, right? So it's like we're releasing these things along the way so that by the time the rubble gets to the foundation, it's not only something that can be sorted through, but then the area can be cleared for something new to be rebuilt upon what was. And what was doesn't necessarily, it's not like, buildings don't come down because of nothing. How do I word this, spirit? It's like the foundation is possible because of the way that the initial building came down, right? So thinking about that too. Seven of Cups in the protagonist position, you have a lot of options, and just options in terms of like perspectives even on fulfillment. And this could also just be places within you. Like this, I'm getting this as like things that you're excited about. You're seeing multiplicities of excitement as opposed to pathways that stressed you out before. And that's the subtle difference between integrating the energy that you're working with so that it's not all up here and you're pulling it into a more grounded place, which is really good. I'm hearing I'm hearing the eclipse in Taurus, so it could have had something to do with that, where it was grounding the energy, right? It was grounding the energy and bringing it back into a centered place in terms of what you value. And then the Three of Pentacles fell out, which is, pentacular energy to me is about the values, right? The values that we place upon things and that we build with things. So I feel like the antagonist, interestingly, is the Three of Pentacles. And the way that it's coming across right now is like, how are you limiting yourself by disbelieving in the power of, I don't want to say working with other people, but there may have been ways, like, because the Two of Cups is here as part of this refusal. So when I see that, I think emotional intimacy and connection, right? That's the relationships, your ships, as it were. And I see the Three of Pentacles in the sense of creative construction, where the Tower is a thing of deconstruction. And you may turn to other people in terms of collaborations and feeling like that's where the wisdom is right now. You may turn to those kinds of collaborations, but I think that the challenge here is to look to yourself more. The Seven of Cups can be a card of illusion. It can be a card of many options, but at the end of the day, it's you making the decision, right? It's you deciding. So I think that the antagonist position here is kind of turning too much in the direction of other people. And I almost see this as like a traffic light in reverse, right? Like I see this as like kind of a reverse traffic light. So it's like stop and go, like you're looking for a sense of direction and you're looking to be, it's not following, but you're looking for guidance in the creative construction, but the guidance comes and then the creative construction takes place. So that's something that could be coming to the forefront. In terms of romance, this could be taking stock of the lessons that you've learned along the way, taking stock of the lessons that you've learned along the way, some of them harder won than others, really reviewing where you've been. And I feel like the messages that you're getting from your own defensiveness, from your own stance, from your own, I almost see like the muscle pain, right? When we work a muscle, that's where I see the Nine of Wands is like, it's like the muscle burn, the deconstruction again that's coming through. And that's what happens is when muscles burn after a workout, it's because they're tearing apart and then rebuilding, right? So I see this like rebuilding. But I think there's a way that you need to trust in the intimacy with which you have the relationship that you have with yourself and the intimacy that you allow yourself. How well do you know your fire? The Queen of Wands here, right? How well do you know your fire? Because if you aren't connected to that part of you, and this is very apropos because after this, I'm doing a reading for Aries. I'm integrating it into this. So I feel like this is quite appropriate for you, any of my Aries collective watching. And, if your North Node is in Aries, this could apply to you as well. You could also have, North Node in Libra, or like I said, the air signs. So just that's a thought, but it's almost like you weren't trusting your fire. You weren't trusting your fire. Maybe you felt like it would burn others. Like and we can do that in relationships, right? We can talk ourselves out of what makes us the most passionate, what makes us shine the most brightly in the world. Because when we do that, it protects us in a way because it prevents us from being overly vulnerable. The Two of Cups, right? It prevents us from being overly, I don't know. There's a way that it protects you and you feel a little bit safer because you're keeping these parts of yourself for you. I think about it here at the apartment, and I used to have a bookcase right there, and I moved it into the living room because my roommate had said, well, why don't you move it out there? There's more than enough space, and it will give you more room in your personal space. And for me, I'm just so used to everything being in one area that I didn't think to do that, but it was vulnerable making because then people would see what I'm reading. They would see me, right? And, oh, excuse me, dusty brains. Hold on. So, but to that point, they would see me, right? And I just kind of had to lean into that because it's new to me. But at the same time, I feel like that process can be similar with other things, but I feel like it's specific to projects or relationships here. What's the main challenge here, Spirit? I feel like there's the Taurus energy, the Hierophant, and the Nine of Pentacles. The main challenge, I think, is having faith. It's like putting your faith in something. It's like you need to put your faith in yourself, in your skills and abilities, in what you have to offer. And I think it's believing that it will take you somewhere. Like that's where I feel like the Hierophant is this. It's almost like a portal to higher knowledge and higher knowing and learning. And it's almost like unlearning and undoing. Like I'm seeing something going in reverse. I feel like it's like an unlearning of patterns and things that it's not that they don't serve you, but I feel like it's an unlearning, broadly speaking, of all of the things that got in the way of the confidence that you might be able to have. And this can even be like little things that we don't tell anybody about, but that we carry with us because we're like, well, that was stupid of me, right? And these little ways that we judge ourselves or we get embarrassed. Yeah, there's your fire again. The Knight of Wands. I think that you need to trust yourself and move forward. I think the Knight of Wands here is showing up as an instinct card. So trust your instincts because that's going to get you further than trusting. Like it's like you need to have faith in yourself, but you need to have faith in yourself because of your fire. You need to have faith and trust in yourself because of where you are and where you're going, not because of outside influence or and I almost get this as like book smarts, like, you know, with the Page of Swords, like book knowledge. Like I love books, trust me, love them. I feel like knowledge is a form of intimacy that's seldom expressed in terms of intimacy, but I think like bookshelves are they can be such a sexy thing because you get to see people, like in that context anyways, but like in general, even with friends, like you get to see these little portals into parts of their lives and into their soul and heart. And that to me is like, that's really an act of intimacy, right? Nonetheless, I feel like this Knight of Wands is saying, go forward, like feel the fear and do it anyway, but trust your instincts along the way because your intuition is connected to that fire. And I feel like it's not just going to open you up to yourself. It's going to open you up to other people. It's going to open you up to opportunities in terms of the Two of Cups here, where there's like a connectivity piece that being disconnected from that, I mean, it comes up a lot here in terms of connecting to your fire, but I feel like we so often do that, especially, you know, I speak from my transness, right? And so often I talk myself out of what I want because I'm trying to be, and this is something that it's like, you have to talk yourself out of it. It's like, don't fall into the trope of being the agreeable, you know, queer or the agreeable trans person or even the agreeable woman, right? Or the agreeable person of color. Like we can't fall into these things. We can't fall into that cognitive trap where we trap ourselves because we are believing that we owe other people something, because then that creates an emotional debt within us. Oh, my roommate's cat is playing with one of my stones. Ella, come here. So cute. I just saw the Fool, and I saw the Fool and the King of Pentacles on the split when I split the deck to shuffle it. And I feel like that's like inner resources. Like you're finding a different kind of inner resource here. And sometimes it's just like, even at work with different projects and stuff, there she is. It's like we get into a place where we look for feedback, but then what we're really doing is using the feedback as permission. Right? We're using the feedback as permission. So we get into this place where we then put other people, not on pedestals, but we put them in positions of having power over us because we do things like over-explain. We do things like expect. We use discourse to expect that they will deliver something to us on the wings of that engagement when they really can't. They can't give us what we have to do for ourselves. Yeah, that's the truth. Page of Cups and Ace of Swords. That like fell out as I said that. There's a truth there, right? Because we can only offer other people so much. And if, you know, that quote that, you know, people can only meet you as deeply as they've met themselves, really true, right? Really true. So I feel like there's a truth here, and possibly about your own heart center too, because it's like, this is like, I'm almost seeing this as an intimacy with yourself that then allows you to be intimate with others in a way that is different from where you've been, perhaps. And you're kind of maybe seeing truths that you haven't before. And the North Node isn't just about projects and like service to others and mission and all of that stuff. It's not just about those things. It's also about how you engage in your relationships, right? Because what greater service is there on the planet than being in emotionally intimate relationships with other people, right? Because you don't just serve through projects and through this limited scope. You serve other people by being a good person in what that means to you, right? We're not going to take these moral blankets and put them on people. But it's like, what does that mean to you? What does it mean to be a good human? What does it mean to be a kind human? And just because we can get into these, like, that's what decency is, be a decent person, but it means something different to everybody, right? I know for me, like, I care for others in an acts of service kind of way, so that's how I show up a lot, right? But not everyone wants that. So it's like, you also have to listen to those things, but it's about being in service to other people through your connections with them. That's what I'm getting as well. So that's another interpretation that I've been considering through the North Node as well. And that it's not just about like the limited scope of what you do and what you're doing. It's also about how you engage with others too. Terms of engagement I'm hearing. You could be setting up new boundaries for yourself. You really could be. You could be setting up new boundaries. And I mean, because I'm going into the Aries reading shortly after this, I feel like that is quite poignant for my Aries collective, especially if you've been in a place like we've been through retrograde after retrograde and an eclipse. So, I feel a bit like it could have highlighted different things for you. In terms of what's most important. And I feel like eclipses are a good time to renegotiate those terms, right? Those terms of engagement, because we have an opportunity to pull back and reflect and to really see what's been happening around us and within us and how we're responding to that, right? Because reactivity isn't reactivity isn't nerve-wracking. I don't know why I said nerve-wracking. Reactivity isn't I don't know. It doesn't. I think about responses better because it integrates time and pace. Two of Wands is the main theme, and I think that you're in a bit of a planning mode here. You're in a bit of a planning mode. I do think that things are going to pick up, but I think maybe right now where you need to be and where I feel like the collective is sort of reflecting and looking back at not just where you've been, because that's so broad, but I think that there's this sort of, I'm hearing pulling back the veil. But I also feel like there are things that you're seeing quite clearly. When we think about the Seven of Cups as, and here it's coming across as an abundance of choices, an abundance of options. And what's coming through here too is that this is about refining not just your choices, because we all have umpteen choices at any point in time. What's coming through is like refining your process, not to make it not like some production line, like Ford plant or whatever. Like, you're not like timing things down to the minute, but you're doing something. There's like a precision. I'm hearing precision. Like there's a precision or a precise way that you're using your energy, and not using your energy as an outward expression, but using your energy for yourself, right? And it could just be refining boundaries because you're ready to do things, like with a new romantic cycle begins was one of the cards, new moon in Libra, right? Some Venus energy there, right? So it's like you're learning how to better integrate this energy, because you could just be ready to date again. Two of Wands, right? You could just be ready to date again. You're like stepping outside the dating pool and then you're going to go leaping right in. That's as simple as that could be, right? If this is a creative project, Venus is energy of long-term contracts and business and that kind of thing in terms of the 7th house. And I think about this as like drawing work that is really meaningful, that feels beautiful to you, that when you do it, it lends a sense of beauty to your world. Like, that's, for me, it's tarot. Like I said, I had to take a step away while I was, unpacking and moving and doing all this stuff, because I wanted to make sure my energy and channel was clear. But that to me is this, like, I love it. I love it. Started as a little bit of a hobby, and now it's like, I really realize how much it means to me. There are other things that I want to do too. So that's not just like, limiting myself into one space, but, I don't know why I'm hearing emphasis on the wrong syllable. What on earth? Maybe there's a way that you were enunciating your energy in your life and sort of punctuating the sentences of your days with a specific action, and it was placing emphasis on the wrong syllable of what you were trying to express within yourself. That's so interesting. Emphasis on the wrong syllable. So I feel a bit like there's a lot of twos here. But I feel like the two is showing up as intimacy. Like it's almost like you had to know yourself and it's like you had to know the corners of your boundaries before you could establish new ones. That's also possible. Okay, so that I'm gonna put 2444. How about that? I gotta write that down. 2444 is where we're gonna go into. So 2444. So the Aries reading starts right now. And so Aries, this is a great foundation for you. I think that you're building a foundation for something. Let's just pull some cards here and see where this goes. I'm gonna pull from the creativity, the Zen Tarot. What messages do you have to build on this for Aries, Spirit? What messages for Aries? I just heard, don't let the muggles get you down. Wow. And then that came out, sorrow. So 9 of Swords. Whew. Maybe you're enchanting. Maybe there's something that you feel like you're losing your magic. You're losing your magic and you're kind of finding it again, because that's what I feel like this Queen of Wands represents here. But it's a refusal it's like your own refusal to stand in your power, or there's your own refusal of something. And you just sort of take in information. The Page of Swords, it's like you're taking in all this information, but it's just kind of pissing you off with this 9 of Wands. Like you're like, okay. And you could just be like sick of your own stuff in a way. And this can happen with little things. I know I get into that place where I'm like, I am so tired of my own BS, right? So then I go for a hike or a walk, or I do something to integrate it. But that Queen of Wands energy, it strikes me as like, as Aries magician, right? Like you're in your magician place. You're in your magician place. But I feel like there's a part where maybe you disconnected from something. I feel like allergic reaction. I don't know why that's coming up. You could have had an allergic reaction to something. I'm just seeing the puffy eyes and stuff. There could be something like that, but that's weird. Not weird, just it's coming out of nowhere, but that's how intuition works. Yeah. Like what you wanted to see was the stars, but what you were doing was closing the blinds, right? And I think about this in terms of like the aurora borealis. Sometimes you can see them here in southern Ontario, but then other times you have to go further north, like to more clearly see them. But it's like all of these like celestial events happening and not being able to see it because of the skies being covered, right? Like with the lunar eclipse, I loved waking up and looking out my window and being able to watch it, right? So that was super exciting because the skies were so clear. It was brilliant. But there's a way that it's like you've been closing your own curtains and then being like, why can't I see anything? What's with the view? But you're closing it to like keep the light out. Like I'm almost seeing it like these are room darkening curtains. Well, I am touching the ones here, but those. So it's almost like there was a way that the light was trying to get in, but you couldn't see it, or you didn't want to see it. Like there was something that was too bright about it. Not because you couldn't handle the light, but because there was a part of your light that you were not accepting or acknowledging. And as a result, it's like it didn't matter if the skies were clear or what. The blinds had to be closed. But I feel like that's part of the cycle that you're moving out of. With the sorrow here, clarifying this, that's truly what I feel like this is. And it could be too, like I almost feel like this is like, it's reminding me of the emperor wearing the red. Like this is like your cloak, right? The red. Like there's something that you're wearing here. It could be connected to root and grounding. But I feel like it's like your robes can be the thing that hold you back, right? Your power can be a thing that holds you back, if only up here, but it still persists in the way that it affects your energy. Huh. Whoa. And that's the thing about knowing our own power and our own strengths, right? It's not about talking ourselves out of our weaknesses, nor is it about talking ourselves into anything else. It's about knowing yourself and knowing your fire so that it becomes a way that you can shine. It becomes a portal through which you light up the world around you, as opposed to becoming a burden, as opposed to being a burden, right? That flipped in and out, the Fool. But you're letting go. Look at all the stars that you can see. You can see the sun, you can see the stars, the whole damn valley. Yeah. I feel like you're ready. There's something that you're just ready for. There's something that you're just ready for. But it's almost like the preparation process was different. Like this Nine of Swords does not want to be seen. It's like there was like a different kind of process, because it wasn't about knowledge, Page of Swords. It wasn't about book smarts, right? It wasn't about preparation through understanding or comprehension. It was about understanding yourself. And that's a different process, right? That's a different process, because you can't read up on how to open the curtains to let the light in and to let yours shine out, right? Now I'm seeing a stage. Yeah. This is like I'm seeing a stage, and it's almost like a movie where there's like a performance happening, and then the table's in the background, like behind, and it's focusing right in on the performer on the stage. And sorry, I'm bumping the mic. Sorry if that's hitting your tender ears. But it's like the performer is in, like, it's almost like satirical amount of makeup to make a point. Could be a drag show. And they're looking out, and it's almost like burlesque, but not like cabaret. That's the one I'm thinking of, the cabaret. It's like cabaret of some kind. Yeah, like there's little tea light candles on the tables behind, and they're almost making a caricature of the performance and the performer. Definitely drag. I don't know. Maybe you've gone to a drag show. They're amazing, by the way. Shout out to the Toronto drag scene. And drag kings specifically, because there's a lot of drag queens, but there's the drag kings. It's an active scene, but it's smaller, so we are the world. So that's wow. You know what's interesting is that this is the Ten of Pentacles in this deck, and I almost feel like there's like, I feel like you're seeing the spectrum of yourself. Remember how I said how the light gets in, right? How the light gets in, and sometimes it's through the wound. It's like that Leonard Cohen or Rumi quote, but it's like I'm seeing this full spectrum of light expressed in the way that you are bringing yourself to the world. This being the Ten of Pentacles, I feel like it's interesting that this is more of a recognition. It's like this is where the creative construction comes into play for you right now, Aries, with whatever. This could be in a personal relationship where you're building a relationship foundation with someone, right? And or multiple folks if you're in a polyamorous relationship. This is like foundation building. So there's like construction that's taking place because of the detonation of what was and the leaving behind of that with the tower. And I think that this could, for you, Aries, the thing that could become a tower in this is possibly a failure to see. And there's no failure. It's just like not recognizing how much is invisible to us, but how much it lends itself to the visibility that we want. I'm seeing like a light catching a crystal in a window, and then the rainbow, like that it makes, like the pyramid. Like I'm seeing I think it's Pink Floyd that has that logo or imagery. But yeah. Interesting. And it's like this Ten of Pentacles is like you being connected to your higher self, the higher selves of others, but then also in a very grounded way, that enriching where you are on the planet, right? Like, so there's this cord, this tether, the silver cord that connects you to the earth as well. I'm hearing everything is connected. Can you tell me a little bit more about nothing will come of this situation, Spirit? This is the one that I want to clarify. Is this the past? There's a full moon in the photo. Clinging to the past. Yeah, So this is the Five of Cups in this deck, and I feel like it's like it's scrambling your energy. Look at this. This is such a beautiful depiction of that clinging to the past. It could be ways of being. This is where it's like, instead of, I'm seeing the detonations on the sides of buildings and them coming down. That could just be showing up in your YouTube feed. For a while, it was like dams bursting that were coming through mine. And then it was another one that was like, just like weird stuff that the algorithm picks up or hears in your phone. And then it's like, let's market these things to you. I don't know. But I feel like there's something about this that's scrambling your energy. And like, while it looks like, I almost want to say, like, you make it look like a work of art, but what's actually happening is that it's distracting you from the cup. There's like a cup behind you. So if you look in this here, you'll see the cup behind this figure. And it's like, you make it look like an art, like the art of reminiscing, the art of nostalgia. It's not the Six of Cups, but it's the Five of Cups, and it's like this disappointment. And that's what it is. It's like attachment. Like, there could be a way that you're attaching to. If it's in a relationship, I'm getting communication styles. It could also be the way that you see things, the way that you've done intimacy before. And it can be a really vulnerable thing to show up and say, I thought I knew, but as I engage with you, I don't know. And I'm seeing how much I don't know. And that scares me a little bit, because it makes me feel like, at once excited, but it also makes me feel like I don't know what I thought I knew. And that places me in a really vulnerable position. And it's not an absolute, right? There's no like all of it or none of it. But there's aspects of that. And I feel like communicating those things right now is going to be really important. Even if you're working on a project, you don't have to cross like inappropriate boundaries and share things you don't want to at work. But sometimes it goes a long way. And it goes a long way to be able to communicate that you feel like you're out of your depth and you can do it. But there's just ways that you feel uncertain, and finding people to talk to like that, where you can have those conversations. If it's on a project or something like that, it could be mentorship. It could be someone in a mentoring relationship that I'm talking to. But just communicating those things, because it's sort of like okay, there's so many things coming in. It connects you to imposter syndrome, and then the past life card came out, where I feel like what I'm getting is like, there's a lot of things that are coming through here. This could have been like the Taurus, like the eclipse could have been a portal, where it's like there's so much that's like at the seams trying to rip through. And I almost feel like this is like, if you zoom in on one aspect of this Five of Cups, it's going to reflect this. Like, there's like a past life thing that you're clinging to, but you don't know this. And that could be North and South Node as well, Aries. Like, there's like something that you're clinging to here, and it wants to burst open. And it looks like salamanders here. It's so interesting, but I saw initially, it almost looked like an octopus. Like, it looked like an octopus, and like, there's like the ways that they change color to reflect how they feel, but they don't have the full, it's still kind of a mystery as to how they exist as they do, because they feel things and know things, but they don't have the same brain. Like, they're considered an invertebrate. Like, they don't have all of that we do. So then we say that that's the only way that consciousness can exist or express itself. So it could be that there's something that there's a knowing, right? There's a knowing that you have, but that you don't understand, or there's like a way of being that you don't understand fully, but you're connecting to, and it's kind of freaking you out a little bit. And this could be psychic gifts, but there's also an aspect of this with, there are things that you know how to do, right? I'm thinking about kids that come here, and they start playing like prodigious piano at like age 5, right? So there could be things that you're really good at, but you're not trusting it. Or you're because of, it could have been situations with other people. The Five of Cups, clinging to the past disappointments, right? Emotional things that were not emotionally fulfilling. So you said that was the whole thing, as opposed to just that one thing. I'm gonna pull one more clarifier here before we get into another deck here, just to bring some more messages through. Spirit, what's the way through for Aries in this reading? Aloneness, a little bit of, it strikes me, well, it's hermit energy, but yeah, aloneness, but not loneliness, right? There's something to be said for the silence. It almost looks like the void, but that can be in the Fool energy too, right? This energy can bring about a sense of hermitude. Anyways, we're making up shit here on this channel all the time. Thank you, Gemini. It's the Gemini in my chart, but regardless, this sense of this aloneness, right? It's like there's something that you have to find within you or on your own that is going to help you leap. And that again is very you energy, Aries, specifically North Node. It could be, a way that you're expressing yourself. You could have Virgo as well. And again, this is Aries. This is Aries energy. So it could be Aries North Node or Aries. This is just you in general. I'm also hearing Mars though. So it could be a Mars placement. I'm hearing Mars and Gemini. I just looked to the deck to be like, let me see if it'll clarify. The deck's fucking trolling me. The deck was like, sorry, but please leave a voicemail. So you could have Virgo and North Node as well with this. Consciousness. Interesting. This just like I moved my hand and this kind of swirled off the deck. So it could be an elevation in consciousness, a bit of ascension, an ascension process, ascension into your North Node, I'm hearing. Wow, but I'm just compelled to focus on this energy here quite a lot. Just the fact that there's an aspect of the leap that you're taking, but you may still have this aspect of needing to go within and finding not just like the calm, still place, but really carving out a time for you to be alone. To help clarify and refine the energy of that leap, right? Because I think that there's something that is shifting here. And again, it says a new romantic cycle begins. If I'm talking to folks who are on the asexual, like who are asexual or on the asexual spectrum, I laugh and tell my friends that, one of them anyway, that demisexuality is on the asexual spectrum, but it's not necessarily expressed that way. But nonetheless, like even if so let's say you identify as ace in some capacity, right? A new romantic cycle doesn't necessarily have to look like relationship. It can look like being deeply invested. And there's also different aspects of that. So there's aromantic. So you can be wanting a romantic relationship that is not sexually oriented or grounded in something, in like a sexual connection. So that's another way that ace can express. But the way I'm seeing it here is like something that you deeply care about. But that feels like uncertain or uncomfortable to you. And nothing will come of this situation. I feel like there's maybe some discernment, because that strikes me as like the intuition and the intuitive capacity of Virgo energy, which is showing up in the Hermit here, where it's like you're needing to, or is that the Hierophant? This is where like, oh my gosh. Having a learning disability with numbers where they flip and switch and then doing Roman numerals is like, and I haven't put any notes on this wall to anchor that, the numerical order of things. So forgive me on that if it's actually the Hierophant, but nonetheless, I feel like this is higher wisdom obtained in an individual way, right? This aloneness, walking the path by yourself. So, she's coming. But void of course moon, I feel like there's discernment that you have to use, because there are certain opportunities that are going to come your way that are new with this Fool energy, and that you're drawing to yourself with this Two of Wands, Aries. You're drawing this to yourself. But what I'm also seeing, the secondary part of that is that there are opportunities that are going to be like they're going to reflect this past aspect, and whether that's past life or what. But I feel like it's not necessarily decide between the two, because I don't want to binarize it like that and be like, this is right and this is wrong and everything in between. There's no. It's not like that. Everything's a lesson. But this past life aspect, I almost get, there's like some judgment energy here, which further to the point is about discernment. And I feel like you need to step into not just your power, Aries. It's not just your power. I think that you need to step into something a little bit more extensive, where your intuition meets empowerment, or your intuition is a source of empowerment. Not just because you're listening to it, but because there's some way that it enriches you, and finding the ways that your intuition speaks to you, right? Specifically you, like your signs. What are your signs? What are your signals? How does spirit work with you? Not just what other people have told you, but like, I know for me, it happens a lot through songs. It happens a lot through music. And I have like some weird, there's somebody, well, it's not weird. There's like somebody with my name who is like a DJ, and I haven't listened to their music on SoundCloud yet, but I want to, just to be like, hey, from one of us to another, go you. I don't know, that's random, but so music is one way that spirit speaks through number alignments, and just like embodied sensations, right? So, spirit bumps, goosebumps, that kind of thing. Sometimes I get this bump, the spirit bump that happens here, and then it like feels like it spirals down my spine, and then it just stops here, but it's like it's like this sort of wave of goosebumps, and that's usually like a pause, or that to me is when angels are surrounding me, and there's like a lot of ancestor energy as well helping in the background, so like spirit guides and helpers, that kind of thing. But what are your signs, right? So it's about figuring out yours, and how your guides speak to you and what that means. But you have to kind of spend some time alone to understand that. And alone can mean, without music on. I often have my earbuds in and I'm listening to music a lot because it helps to filter out a lot of the sensory aspects of the world around me, and really to just refine that, because it can send me into overdrive, right? So it's about figuring out what works for you and understanding that there's no right or wrong way to do it. But the one thing that I've been learning that's consistent is stillness through meditation, not necessarily silence as in zero noise, because if you hear, you can still hear like the silence, right? So there's that. Yes, baby girl. What? Eva's here, so so now that I'm kind of settled in, I had a chance to pull out my old like tarot decks that I've had for a really long time, and this is like the OG Enchanted Map by Colette Baron Reed. So I'll pull from that just to see where you're headed now, Aries. Where is Aries headed now? What's the best guidance for Aries in terms of a compass forward? Stormfields, and a 9. This is almost coming across as aligned with this Sorrow card, and it's like, what I'm seeing now, thank you, Spirit, is the scene from the movie Twister, where at the end, the big one didn't touch the house, like it didn't take the house. So there could be worries that you have about not just home, but like your inner home, a home within you, and like worrying about something happening to that. But what's actually happening is it's like bypassing it. Yeah, and you think of nature as more benevolent than stormy. It could also just be literal storms that are affecting you right now. I know in different parts of the world, it's like monsoon season and there's different storms afoot. I know we're at the tail end of hurricane season, but I know towards the Atlantic seaboard, there can be some pretty intense storms still. Like they're not quite hurricanes, but they're not quite tropical depressions. They're still stormy. So that's possible. And also in the Pacific too. I mean, that's okay. Storm fields. I'm hearing batten down the hatches. But you know what's coming through is like the yellow brick road in this card. The yellow brick road in this card, because of the way that the road is like checkered, and the tornado that she thought was, falling and all of that was like, it's almost like maybe you wake up from a dream and there's something that's really profound that you see, or like it was more than just a dream. But like, I know for me, dreams are really important. A lot of messages come through dreams. But yeah, so it could be paying attention to dreams. So slow and steady and ride the wave. I'm almost getting this energy of, if you feel like things are a bit chaotic because you're in your North Node energy, whatever that is. Again, I'm hearing the air North Node really freaking loud. But it's like you need to just ride the wave and take things as slowly and steadily as possible, but understanding that there's joy to be had in that, right? There's joy to be had in that. How would you enjoy surfing if you knew that you couldn't fail at it, right? Like, it would be something enjoyable, in my opinion. Like, I feel like that would be super pleasurable, because you would just be like, to be in the barrel of a wave and to see through it. And just the ways that surfers have described those things, it's like, it's almost like finding that sweet spot. Like, Abraham Hicks said before, find the eye of your hurricane and stay there. Interesting with the hurricane reference here, but it could feel that way, right? So it's about not just putting yourself and your mind at ease, but I think that when you're going into these uncharted territories of North Node, I found it really helpful to, I mean, and doing just first and foremost, having compassion for yourself, because you're going to do it imperfectly. You've never done this stuff before. So remembering that there's no perfect way to do it. Yeah. And that usually your worries don't really amount to much, right? It doesn't really amount to much. Nothing will come of this situation. And that thing where we go, oh, it was just a dream. We sometimes think of our worries as more than just this waking dream. I'm hearing Waking Life. That was a great movie, by the way. So if you haven't watched it, I highly recommend it. It's kind of it's an acquired taste, but it was a good philosophical deviation from the norm in film. So, but there could be that aspect of things, right? Like it could be, you could have your North Node in the ninth house, because I'm seeing the nines here, and it's like the worry and concern. But nonetheless, I feel like what you're expanding into is a higher version of yourself. Can I get one more card here just to clarify? This for Aries, please, Spirit. Metamorphosis. This is beautiful. Aries, look at that. Yeah. You have to trust the process. You have to trust the process, which is like the most annoying thing that anybody can say when you're in the midst of change, right? Like you just want to know that it's going to be okay. And people are like, just trust the process. It's divine timing. And you're like, well, that's great, but right. So, and I think it's also just making light of when you're in your ego like that. I think of my ego as Jim Carrey at the DMV in the movie Liar Liar, right? Where he's like, you know, that he's saying like, you scratched my car. And then, you know, he says, you know what I'm going to do about this? Nothing. I'm going to piss and moan like an impotent jerk and then bend over and take it up the tailpipe. And I'm like, that's my ego. That's exactly what it sounds like, right? So it's like getting into that place of recognizing that dialogue that your ego is trying to have in a way that dominates your perspective, and taking a step back and saying, wow, but turning it into a caricature so that you can laugh at yourself, as opposed to being so anchored in it that you're like, it's like you're so sure of that needing to be the dominant frame that you have. So just go easy on yourself, because there are things that are significantly changing. You could have a North Node in one of the fixed signs, so Taurus, Scorpio, Aquarius, or Leo, and it could be that something like just got shaken up a lot around the eclipses in terms of how you're expressing that. So I'm gonna pull from that's what I'm seeing for you, Aries. I'm gonna pull from this like combo of the Universe Has Your Back and the Super Attractor deck by Gabrielle Bernstein. Spirit, what messages do you have to close out this reading for my Aries collective? Whoa, a couple came out here. Oh wait, what happened? What? What are you doing? That's the sassy best friend or sassy gay friend. Memes. Okay, great. Excellent. Spiritual alignment puts my manifestation into motion. And maybe that's where the slowdown is happening, right? Like slow and steady. The way that you know that things need to, if it feels like things are stagnating, it's like, how's your consciousness? Like, how's that doing? How's that doing? And asking questions that speak to that, as opposed to, why am I here? Why is this here? Why is it here like this? Right? So spiritual alignment puts my manifestation into motion. My super attractor power comes from how I feel, my faith in love, and the joy I put out, right? And it could be also about having faith in yourself too, having faith in yourself and what you're attracting and what you want to attract and what you can put in the world. Not an easy task by any stretch of the imagination, especially if it's new. Like if it's new to you, you may be like, well, I don't know if you're anything like me, I feel I'm nervous about doing new things because I'm like, well, it's going to make me look stupid. And I like feeling smart. And that's definitely ego, right? But the point is to understand that we all have a good dose of silly in our everyday. But some of us are better equipped with the tools and resources to hide that. But maybe that's what you need to do, is to be in your Leo, right? To be in your Leo and have that aspect of like, well, even if it makes me look kind of silly, I'll still do it because it's nice, right? It's something that means something to me. So then we also have believing in spiritual guidance gives me certainty and the freedom to keep dreaming, even when I can't yet see the result. And that's really North Node, isn't it? That's really North Node, super dupes. Believing in spiritual guidance gives me certainty and the freedom to keep dreaming, even when I can't yet see the result. So it's basing your guidance not on the results, but basing your knowing where you are, right, on the map, so to speak. Knowing where you are on the map because of the fact that the guidance exists for you to receive. And that's enough for you to know that you can receive it. And that's enough for you to know that there's a path that you can be on and enjoy and thrive in. And so the point isn't the end result. The point is, and I think about this with North Node, right? It's not about a destination. It's about who we become along the way to it. And that's the expression. The North Node is a series of skills and ways that we express ourselves, at least in the way that I'm seeing it right now, right? That could change as I grow and as more information comes to me, all of that. But it's like there's a way that you can push away your best guidance because you feel like it needs to come through a specific limited channel, right? So it's staying open to the ways that spirit speaks to you. And I'm going to close this out with notes from the universe on love and connection. That North Node is loud, my Aries peeps. Okay. I go where you go. I feel like it's kind of, so two things are coming through. It's like a reminder of that John Kabat-Zinn book title, Wherever You Go, There You Are. Like you take yourself with you wherever you go. So I go where you go. And I feel like it's just a reminder too of like guidance is everywhere around you. And it's not like guidance and spiritual connectivity. Like spirit is a field around you. I'm hearing Lynn McTaggart. I feel like she's written a book about this. I think it's like The Field, maybe. But yeah, it's escaping me. But nonetheless, it's like spirit is like a field that you're connecting to. It's not just like a place or a person. Those are the ways that spirit speaks to you, and I'm reading Sonia Choquette's book. Well, yes, like I'm reading through it and taking pieces of it when I'm called back to it so that I can put specific tools and stuff into practice in terms of speaking to my guides. But that's, something that she emphasizes in her work is like, there's you're connecting to your guides. The whole, like what you make the whole story determines how you receive the guidance. Like, do you want just like those snippets of guidance to be the whole story, or like those little bits of guidance, right? And just the delight along the way, right? And not falling into the limitation of believing that these bits of guidance are the end result, because they're not, right? The end result is a full life. It's like vibrant. It's a vibrant life too. So be true to yourself. You may not ever understand what's going on in their life, but you can always figure out what's going on in yours. Yeah, it's a little bit of like taking ownership of where you are and taking stock of where you are and knowing what's within your power to change and what's not. And this is also related to North Node too, because I've noticed, and it could just be that my South Node is in Libra, but I've noticed that my South Node is where specific behaviors of relating to others and making it easier on myself so that I don't have to feel uncomfortable in connections, right? So I can default to specific behaviors. So it's about being true to yourself, and being true to yourself is also being true to your North Node and to that vulnerability and that discomfort that can come up when you're in that energy. And just because it feels unfamiliar and might make you feel vulnerable doesn't mean that it's bad. It just means that it's new. So I'm going to leave it here, Aries. And for those of you with my daily creatives who watched all the way through, if this resonates and you don't have Aries in your chart, consider it as connected to the original reading. So I just wanted to try this out and to get into sign-specific readings as well. So thank you for watching. If this resonated, give it a like and subscribe. I'd love to have you on the channel if you are not here already. So please do so if you're so inclined. And if you're watching for my subscriber base, thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. So as always, wherever this finds you on the time-space continuum, morning, afternoon, or night, I hope it finds you very, very well, my friends. Take care.